The growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Off the charts violence in New York City. 11 people shot in just 8 hours on
This is
Sunday.
about the police officers who every single day put on that uniform and they run towards danger when we run away from it.
Oh, guns up!
Giddy up, y'all.
Giddy up, y'all. There it is. Welcome to Failure to Stop Podcast, the #1 show where police meet society and culture. And as always, folks, if you like the content that we deliver, smash the like button, hammer the subscribe button. But it's night shift, baby. We're bringing you, it's Tuesday night. It's the show where the beautiful, the elegant Andrea up late brings us all the gruesome murder and mayhem of true crime on a Tuesday night. And I couldn't be more excited for her to be here tonight because today I've been in the studio. You know, we're up in our YouTube game. We're up in our YouTube content, which means that Drew Breezy, myself, Mike the Cop, you know, we're putting lots of content on YouTube. And today I went scorched earth on a very disappointing sheriff out of Baxter County, Texas. And, you know, I need a pick-me-up tonight. And so there's nothing more that gets my juices flowing than a good murder story. Is that shitty of me? Does that make me a bad human being?
No.
I mean, there is a thing in the true crime community where they just despise guys like me because they're like, oh, you're not taking the crime serious. Look, I worked in law enforcement for a hot minute, seen a lot of dead people. It's no disrespect to them. It's just a way of remembering.
I think you know, and it's so that's why I think it's great to come at it from cop perspective, right? But also I think for anyone, no matter what your background, there's just, if you're interested in this kind of thing, it's not because of disrespect. It's because of like just this intrigue or this, like, so many cases, or it could have happened to anybody. And I think it just piques our interest of, you know, things to think about, or why did that happen? Or how did that happen to that person? Right.
And I feel like I learned something every episode.
Yeah.
I feel like I learned something every episode. Well, we've had a really great week. We had the challenge on the Instagrams for Andrea Uplate's Instagram handle.
Let me pull up what you picked real quick as you're talking because we didn't. Do you have it?
No, I don't.
Okay, I'll pick it. I'll
bring it up. But if you submitted, so we're sponsored by Manscaped. Today's show is brought to you by Ghostbed /Wolfpack and also Manscaped. But we got these 2 Manscaped packages to give away. But we want to give it to somebody who needs it. So we said to send us a picture that represents your bush, or send a picture of your bush to Andrea Uplate, and we would figure out which one needs trimmed the most. And you guys delivered some hilarious content over the week of pictures of your bush.
So many.
Oh,
it's been great. Yeah.
How do you like looking at all that bush? Has it changed your perception as being like a single woman? Are you scorned by this? Are you feared by it?
Maybe I'm more intrigued. Like, I mean,
you want more bush now. Don't say that because our sponsor is Manscaped. We need them to be shaving these things.
It's true. Yeah, I don't hate it. We've gotten some good things here, and thankfully everyone again was they didn't take you, you know, literally at your word.
I know. I was expecting like to see some real bush in there, but everybody kept it pretty respectful.
I think that kind of, though, you might, like, you're using me as the scapegoat, right?
Yeah.
But just send him to Eric, guys. That's what he really wants.
Listen, I get that shit every day. Every day people are sending me wild shit. People I've never met in my life send me the most disgusting and foul things.
Don't believe it.
porno stuff, midget stuff, funny stuff, fucked up stuff. I get you
Never.
name it, it comes through my messages.
It doesn't, guys. He's not. Nope.
Well, for now on, they'll be forwarded to you, so you will see all of them.
Yeah.
But we had a contest. So who do you think who won? Are you choosing who won?
I'm letting you pick, but I think we kind of had the same consensus, right? Do you mean to show it?
Yeah, go ahead, show it. I don't know what you're gonna show, but go ahead.
Oh, I think it's
Is
the
it my
same one
bush?
you picked.
Nah, because I'm smooth as a baby's
Don't have a
bottom
picture of
down
your
there.
bush on my phone. Thank Jesus, from whom all blessings flow. All right. Okay, you ready?
Oh, there. Oh, okay. So you're gonna go with the old school Bush, which is Bush from the band Bush. That would be what's his name? Roslyn?
Gavin Rosdale.
Gavin
Get it
Rosdale. I
together.
knew it started with an R. Gavin Rosdale. Hey, speaking of Gavin Rosdale, Andrea,
There's a reason we picked that.
Well, true. Yeah. I mean, I just thought it was ironic because we're going to go see them next week, but we're not only going to see them, we're not going to see them. They're playing with Alice in Chains, but we are going as the private guest of Jason Roush from Breaking Benjamins. So he's
just the one
taking us-
Benjamin. It's just one Benjamin.
Dude, listen, he's all the Breaking Benjamins. You can't have a Breaking Benjamin. Can't have any men's or mans or any of that without a badass guitarist like Jason.
What did you call him?
I'm excited to be
the other day. The keyboard player from Nickelback. And
yeah. I know they have a show tonight, so that he's not listening to the show. Thank God. But I'm ordering a t-shirt online this week, a Nickelback t-shirt.
Yes.
And I'm gonna wear it backstage with him. So I'll be back there with a Nickelback.
Yes.
Yeah. So okay, so we're gonna go with that guy as the winner because he chose the
well, it fits,
Bush.
right? Like that's where we're
that is a funny Bush, and it's current.
It's current.
Fair enough. What's that guy's name?
We're gonna hang out with Jason. He's been nothing but amazing. And then I'm probably gonna brush Gavin Rosdale's hair a little bit. So is that what?
Gross.
Is that what we do?
Grow up.
That was Kyle Hickman.
You're a Kyle Hickman?
Yeah, that sent that one.
Kyle Hickman. Well, congratulations, Kyle Hickman. You're going to receive a Manscaped 4.0 package, but I still have more Manscaped stuff to give away, folks. I've got some t-shirts, so I'll come up with something unique to give out the t-shirts. All right. Well, what do we have on the true crime docket for tonight? Let's dive into some deep, dark, dirty murder and mayhem.
Yep. So guys, this is a case from 1986 out of New Mexico. It's one that's been on Unsolved Mysteries. It's been around for a while. So if you're unfamiliar, because I was, Gallup, New Mexico is close to Arizona, kind of near the Arizona border there. There's lots of hey Rip Pack. There's lots
Rip
of
Pack is in the chat. Real quick, I forgot to put this caveat out there for those of you who are listening on podcast. We are a live YouTube show. We do have paid members in the YouTube chat as well as peasant chatters as well. Those are the unpaid chatters. But anytime somebody drops a super chat or one of our paid subscribers throws out a comment, we sometimes like to put it up on the screen. You know, it's mainly for our YouTube viewers, but sometimes Andrea likes to go, oh, hey, Rip Pack. Whoa, hey, whoa. By the way, use that promo code. Rip Pack actually came in huge. We had the meetup in Jacksonville, and we had a great turnout. Turnout. A bunch of friends out there. A guy named Scott. Twerk out, really. But it was at Allen Girl Cigar Bar. I had a great time. Drew Breezy was with me, and but I had to drive from 4:00 in the morning all the way through to get there, then take a quick nap and everything. So anyway, Rip Pack saved my britches. Because I just
you couldn't brush your teeth?
No, because I didn't really want, it was raining. It was like just pouring rain. And I got out of my truck and ran inside, and I didn't want to unload my bag and all my shit in the rain because my laptop's in there and everything else. So I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. I've got some Rip Pack in the door. I'll freshen up with some Rip Pack, and that way I can take a shower and do all the things without having to get my bag out of the car in the rain. So thank you, Rip Pack. And that promo code is still good, I believe. It's Wolfpack.
It is. My kids have actually been using them constantly, which if you can get a kid that age to do anything pro hygiene, it's a win. So thanks, Rip Pack. We all thank you for that. So Gallup, New Mexico, again, a lot of bordering Navajo reservations around this town. The family we're going to talk about grew up in the probably like the poorest part of Gallup. Gallup was a railroad town. Not a whole lot going on there. Population of about 18,000 at the time. So we're going to be talking about Anthonette Cayedito, a little girl who was 9 at the time. She was born in 1976 on Christmas Day, actually. She went missing in April of 1986. So let's talk about it.
So she went missing on Christmas Day.
No, she was born on.
She was born on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Do we know what Anthonette means, by chance?
Nope.
Is Anthonette like some kind of Hispanic word for angel?
You know, after last week's name debacle,
Cleotha.
Yeah.
Dude, my Cleotha has not stopped itching since that episode. Yeah.
Yep. I totally sent you.
I love the awkward silences that I give you.
Because on here, I get a little, I just look at you, but
yeah, for those of you who are just listening, whenever I say stupid shit, she looks at me with these very scowling eyes, and I am put in my place immediately. I'm left speechless. She's not talking. And so it just gives you an awkward silence, but it's very entertaining on the YouTubes.
The comments always make me laugh. Lumberchef just said, we just broke Andrea. I'm here. I'm solid. Going strong. So Anthonette Cayedito is her name, born on Christmas Day again in 1976. In April of 1986, she goes missing. So a little backstory. She was born to her mom, Penny Cayedito, and Penny is of Navajo descent. So in this area of town, we've got like a Hispanic population. We have a lot of the Native American population. It's kind of all sorts of things depending on what part of the city you're in. So there are reports that the dad is a man named Anthonette's father was Anthony Montoya, who was of Italian and Hispanic descent. So when you read about this, he's named the father in a lot of things. But if you read a little farther, you learn that actually Larry Estrada is named to be her father. So Penny and Larry were together. They had Anthonette. They then separated, and mom went on to have 2 other girls, Sadie and Wendy, who were, it was kind of like stair step. Like, so if Anthonette was 9, they were like 7 and 5 at this time in 1986. So mom was she was a single mom at this point because she got estranged from the younger girl's father as well. So she's a single mom raising these 3 girls. She was known to kind of be a barfly. She would get a sitter and go out. And on this particular night of April 6th, or actually April 5th, she went out to a bar, had a sitter there with the girls. Now, it's kind of important to note that there's never been a lot mentioned of the sitter. We don't know a lot about who it was or anything like that. We just know that there was a sitter there. Mom gets home around midnight that night, not crazy late. Kids are still awake. She sends sitter home. The accounts show a few different things. I think she was used to kind of letting them do as they please a little. Like they were, they stayed up pretty late with mom that night. Past like they were home, they were open, she got home, right? And then we're up until reports say anywhere from 1 to maybe even almost 3 o'clock in the morning. So they all
Why
go
is
to
that
bed.
such a thing in low income areas? Like if you go to any low income part of the town, like whether it be like a very low income trailer park or low income government housing, there are kids out in the street at like 2 a.m. still fucking around. It's like, dude, why are these kids in bed?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I haven't seen. I know that you did probably as a police officer driving around would see that. So, I think that's fair. I've not I'm not driving around at 2 a.m. So
Nothing good happens after midnight.
gosh, I think my mom used to say 10. It's like, get home, just come home. She's not wrong. Fair,
No,
depending on the age,
no.
it's not super wrong. So, sorry, I'm just thinking about my son texting this girl lately.
What? Then your son just like turned like 13?
Oh yeah. The fact that I'm even here for a show is something that's I feel like can I get a trophy or something, because I on Saturday had my youngest boy and then my oldest boy who was turning 13 along with 4 other 13-year-old boys spend the night at this house.
Sounds like a true crime story.
It does. I'm still recovering. This house will never be the same. They pulled an all-nighter, which was their goal, so they won. So mom's out, comes home, sends the sitter home. Kids are up late. There are different reports of like which kids slept in which bed. One or two of the girls would often sleep in mom's bed. So mom goes to bed. So do the 3 girls. And then as far as we know, anywhere they say between 1 and 3 a.m. Most reports say closer to 3 a.m. There was a knock at the door. So mom doesn't hear it. She sleeps through it, but the kids heard it. This will be an interesting point as we go on, because then recollections kind of change. The stories change, but the initial report that the police were given or statement from the family was that mom was asleep. Knock on the door. The other 2, all 3 girls got up, but Anthonette is the one that went to the door. And when she went to the door, they say that it was overheard that someone said, "Hey, it's Uncle Joe," which I've already got a problem with this. Like, why is who's coming at 3 a.m.? But whatever. So it says Uncle Joe enough to familiarize Anthonette with a name to open the door. She was never seen again. Neighbors will later say they saw a brown van in the driveway. Again, they're up at 3 a.m. So I don't know. This is like the party block in Gallup. I'm not sure exactly what's going on. So a little backstory on Anthonette. So like I said, she was 9, sisters were 7 and 5. She was known to be, pretty mature beyond her years. She was the adjectives that like mom, there's little Anthonette there. The adjectives that mom and dad would use for her would be mature, caretaker, nurturer. They would also say things like basically like she was kind of in charge. She was known at this age to already be cooking meals for her younger siblings.
Well, I mean, it's like my son Duke. He's 9 and he's got 3 younger siblings, and Duke can cook. Duke makes coffee every morning, but he's like most people don't know that he's 9. They think he's a lot older because he's a lot more mature. But I mean, he does take on that
I
role.
interrupt you really fast because I try not to look at the chats too much. I get a little distracted, but I just caught where Hydro Man Blue said Andrea can't be a grandma. Did we say that, Hydro Man? Where are we going with this?
One, she absolutely could be a grandmother. She's absolutely old enough to be a grandmother.
Where did that happen? What happened?
You're not a grandmother.
Did I say that? No.
You're gonna be a grandmother because your son's on the phone.
Okay, enough. We're gonna stop right now. I will leave. I will leave. And go to bed. Shut it down.
Dude, like what? Like 3 more years will be driving. Think about that.
One step at a time. I can't even handle where we're at. So
I mean, I can't imagine though. Like she would go without a fight. Like.
Well, so here's what though, and we've talked about this. So if she thought that Uncle Joe, let's say, was at the door, she thought it was a relative, and she opens the door. She's tiny, so she stood about 4'7", 55 pounds. Tiny. She's little, so it wouldn't take much once she's halfway physically out of the door, right, to subdue. I mean, a grown man's hand over her face and it's done. Like she's not making a noise.
That's crazy that she opens the door and doesn't go wake up the mom at 3 a.m.
But she also was kind of a little adult. They actually called her a little adult. And I think she probably felt probably felt the part. I don't know that she felt like she needed to go to mom for permission for these things, and to no fault of her own. I think that's just kind of how she was raised.
Right.
I think she was a help with the younger siblings, and I think that, you know, like if my kids hear a knock on the door at 3 a.m., they're running to me, terrified.
Oh yeah, mine are too. Mine are like not answering that door. No way.
Yeah, absolutely. So they talk about her just being like, so just kind of picture her that way, that she was mature beyond her years, but like I think some of it was her personality and some of it was her nurture, right? Was the way she was cared for and what she was kind of expected to do as well. So we then so that morning at 7 a.m., mom wakes up to get them ready. She will then also take them to Bible study. She'll let them stay up all night, but then they're going to go to Bible study at 7 a.m. So she wakes them up around 7. That's when she notices that Anthonette is not there. She goes and starts talking to neighbors. You guys, we've talked about this before with technology and phones and things. Again, we didn't even have like 911. And I've looked it up. It's hard to find exactly a map of where 911 was in this moment. Like, did Gallup, New Mexico have 911 in 1986? I'm going to say no. I could be wrong. I'm going to say no, just based off of some of the things I read and the maps of where it followed. I'm not sure that would have been one that got it that early on. They also did not have a house phone. So had she even called 911, if it were available, it would have been from a neighbor's house. So she goes to different neighbors' homes looking for Anthonette. This takes a while. And finally around 11, she alerts law enforcement. They come out, take a full statement. This is when they talk to the sisters, they talk to the mom, they talk to the neighbors, and don't get a whole lot other than what I just said, that there was a knock at the door. The 3 girls kind of go. They hear someone say it's Uncle Joe. She's never to be seen again. So 5 years later, Wendy is the youngest sibling. She was 5 years old at the time. So when Wendy is 10, she discloses to police that she actually, when Anthonette opened the door, she heard the Uncle Joe as well. But when Anthonette opened the door, she saw 2 men forcefully grab Anthonette and put her against her will into this brown van, and drive away. She will go on to say that she's 10 years old giving this statement, and it happened when she was 5. Okay. When they asked her why she had never said this before, her reasoning was that her mother had been so distraught and upset during this time, understandably so, but that she also number one, didn't think people would believe her, and she was almost scared to poke the bear, if you will. Like, she didn't want to do anything to further upset her mother. So there's been a lot of talk on that. Like, how likely do you think that that's true? Is this a story that she was then told to say? We'll get into that. Is this something that she had a memory that she suppressed? Did she remember it the whole time and she finally felt free to say it? And there's a couple different camps, right? There's the one that says, if I were 5 years old when that happened, I would be terrified. I'm immediately tell mom, I can't go back to bed, whatever. There's another camp that says, well, she could have been so terrified, right? She could have been so traumatized that she didn't. We can parallel this case a little bit to a few others, and I'll let you say whatever's on your mind right now. But if you guys remember Elizabeth Smart, there are a few times when we're going to run a bit of a parallel with the Elizabeth Smart case, who was a child taken from her home that eventually was recovered and came home in an interesting way. But her sister later said, now she didn't wait 5 years, but she did wait, I think it was around 5 hours. When Elizabeth was taken, she saw her being taken. She woke up in her bed, and it wasn't until many hours later. I say 5, it could have been 2. Either way, it was not immediately. She did not get up and go alert mom and dad that sister's been taken. She said she was so paralyzed with fear that she stayed in the bed for at least 2 or 3 more hours, and then told mom and dad what she had seen. So, take from this what you will, in terms of if you believe what Wendy said, or how she came about this notion?
Yeah, I so not the story I was planning on telling tonight, but one night my wife and I put the kids to bed and we went back to our bed chambers and I lured her in there and we made very passionate, loud love. And when we got done, I got up to turn the bathroom light off in the hallway. The kids use for a nightlight.
Oh gosh, I know this.
And I hear from the bedroom, Dad. And I was like, oh, what's up, buddy? Are you awake? Dad, I thought something awful was happening in your room. I heard a bad guy in there and I heard you going, and I heard Mom going, and I thought a bad guy, what's happening to you guys? And I said, oh, bud, we were watching a scary movie. We only have a TV in our room.
Not Ashley. Ashley's not scary, but
we were watching a scary movie in our room. And, but I went in there to like give him a hug. He was trembling, like physically trembling. And I felt so bad, but I was like, well, what, the next day, I was like, hey man, you're okay from last night? And he said, yeah, but please don't ever watch that scary movie again. What was it? And I just like made up a title or whatever. But I said, man, you didn't want to come fight the bad guy? He was like, I just buried my head in my pillow and covered my ears and just wanted it to go away.
That's what I said.
So had I had not gotten up to turn the light off, I don't think he would ever spoke of it. He would have went to sleep. He would have stayed in that pillow with it over his ears until he fell asleep, which is what most little kids would do in a very traumatic situation like that.
Sure. I think it's fair either way. I think either way could work. That because we're going to talk a little bit, we're going to dive into Mom a little bit more. I think that it's I think that it's not a far reach to think that maybe Mom I'm not saying she had anything to do with this. There are some speculations of that we'll talk about, but I could see maybe the children being coached through some things, some narratives, but I can also see the child just honestly being traumatized.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I mean, coaching a kid's, I think a good detective can probably coax that out of a kid if he's been coached. But no, I think the kids just, no, I think that is real. I mean, my 5-year-old dude, I can't imagine what would happen if he saw something like super crazy. I mean, I don't even know.
That's an equally heartbreaking side of the story, right? Like if the child actually witnessed that, we'll talk about her and her there's a mosquito. Miss Charles. I can't handle it. So that's what happened. And so that was Wendy, the very youngest sister. So that's pretty much it. Like in terms of what happened right then, acutely in the home at the time of the when Anthonette went missing. So we have some possible sightings. These things happen, we know, over the years, especially with an unsolved case. People are getting calls and tips and things, and it might go, kind of get quiet for a while and ramp back up with media attention. If you guys are just listening, we have got a picture up right now, and this was the missing persons banner of Anthonette. On the left is a picture of her when she went missing, and then on the right is an age progression photo. So super sad. So about a year after she disappeared, the Gallup Police Department got a phone call from someone who said, are we going to have this, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who said that she was Anthonette. She said that she was in Albuquerque. We're going to play the call. It's total of 40 seconds, but anyone only has 29 seconds. I think 29 seconds is all that there were words in. So it's a little muffled, but you'll get the gist, and just know that it's a little tough.
This is coming off of like one of our craziest episodes of a Friday Breakdown. We had Drew Breezy on that talked about dispatch.
Dispatch, yeah.
And so this is a call that dispatch would get, and this guy's or girl or whoever answers the call has to live with this the rest of their life.
Absolutely.
I'll go ahead and play it for you.
I'm Anthonette Cayedito. I'm Anthonette Cayedito. whereabouts in Albuquerque? Hello? Anthonette, where are you? Anthonette? Hello?
If you want to, we might play that again. I want to hear your gut reaction since you've not watched or read about this.
Mhm.
Do you feel like you listened to a man or a woman say, "Who told you you could be on the phone?"
You want me to play it again and see if I can hear that?
Sure.
All right.
Police department. Hello? I'm Anthonette Cayedito. Okay, whereabouts in Albuquerque? Hello? Anthonette, where are you? Anthonette?
Wow, I did hear it. It sounded like a female's voice, though.
See, I thought so too.
It sounds like a female's voice that said, "Who said you could be on the phone?"
I thought so too.
Is there a lot of other people that think the same thing? That it's a female's voice?
Most of the things that you read say male, but then the first time I heard it without reading, like I heard that before I read about the case or read more into it, and I immediately, the mosquito, I immediately thought woman. But then when I was reading more and more and more, it kept saying, and then you can hear a male voice saying, "You have, who told you that you could be on the phone?" And the first thing I thought of was, I thought that was a woman. And so then when I've been listening to some other podcasts or different things about it, I'm now hearing, a few people saying that they think it was a woman as well. I don't know. To me, that was my initial gut reaction was woman. And I know that it's a terrible, it's not a great quality, much like my camera currently. It's not a great quality, but yeah, it sounded like a woman to me. So that was a 911 call. Like I said, the total call is about 40 seconds with words that last for about 29. Anthonette's mother did listen to the call eventually when that, like I said, this was about a year after she disappeared. And she would say that it sounded like Anthonette's voice to her. Then things get really quiet for about 4 more years. And then 4 years later, there's a waitress in Carson City that's in Nevada. And she thought she saw Anthonette. There were still missing posters and things like that. At this point, there were some age progression renderings. This has been 5 years since it happened. Anthonette would have been 14. And this waitress said that there was a girl in her early teens who showed up to the restaurant with a man and a woman who, in her words, looked unkempt. That the little girl or the young teen kept trying to make eye contact with her and kind of continued. If you're listening or watching, this is a picture Eric put up that is an age progression photo to, I think 2018 is when this one was done, what they would say that she looks like at this point. So the waitress said that Anthonette was dropping silverware, but like to the point that it was seemed odd. It seemed like too much. And more than once, the waitress bent down to help her pick up whatever she had dropped, and the child squeezed her wrist really tightly and looked at her. I think that now you've got to think that was 1980, 1991. I think now, with all the crime stuff and all the stuff, I think that a lot of people would probably take that in a different kind of way. Or I do think that people are a bit more aware of these kinds of things. If a child or anyone looks to be a bit in need or hasn't held.
If something like that happens in 2022, whatever it is now, and you don't say anything or do anything, you're an asshole.
Yeah, that would be kind of crazy, right? But then I do think that, and who knows, it's a waitress. I'm not sure how old she could have been, 17, 20, 30. I don't know how old she was, but this happened when they eventually got up and left. And as she was like bussing the table, she found a napkin under a plate that said, "Call police, !" Please help me.
Oh my God. This woman could have fucking saved a human being from being trafficked or God knows what.
Well, makes your stomach turn, right? Because like I said, you don't know in the moment. We know now that I think almost anyone would have treated that situation different now. Then she's in this teeny tiny town, teeny tiny diner. It's before there's a lot going on. And maybe she did have that weird, you have those instincts, but we have them for a reason. Maybe she kind of had that gut feeling, but also didn't want to cause a wave, or who knows what was going through her head in the
See
moment.
something, do something.
I know, but I don't think that was a
Yeah, it wasn't a thing back
phrase.
then. It was
And
stop, don't
so-
touch that gun. Remember
So
that?
there's banter. Yeah, there's also stop, drop, and roll. There was a banter about that maybe this actually, because the authorities have not really, I feel like they don't feel super solid, and I don't know why. They don't feel super solid that this was Anthonette in the diner. Okay. Let's think about that.
Well, who gives a
'Cause if
fuck if
it's
it's Anthonette or
not,
not? Like, it's a
who
human
is
being
it?
that's
That's what I'm
being
saying. Like, if it's not, then now we got somebody else that we're, kind of worried about here. So that was then. This is again another parallel with Elizabeth Smart. If you guys remember that case, and she was actually seen out and about. She went out. They had her for so long. So again, I like to kind of go into the psychology of this a little bit, but there is a condition called Stockholm syndrome, and it's where if you've been abducted, your kidnapper, the assailant is someone that you over time can develop a trust for, and you can develop an attachment to. That doesn't mean you don't fear them. That doesn't mean you want them to be your person, but you can feel this bond with them. And it is bizarre to think about, but it absolutely happens, and it happens all the time. And then that's how, when people do abduct these kids that they don't kill, that they just hang on to, over time they can actually take them out in public. Probably not 6 weeks, 6 months later,
That's why
but
I
over the
started
course of years.
That's why I started letting you podcast. After all these years,
Guys, if
I
I
trust
blinked twice.
if I let you out in the public, you know what I mean?
Save me.
I feel like you can trust me now. That's fucking terrible.
Save me. That's real bad. But this again is the parallel with Elizabeth Smart, right? So she was actually, when she was saved, she ran, but she was out with this man and woman, and he talk about unkempt. I mean, he had this crazy hair. It's crazy. He looked dirty and really not put together. But they had taken her into public more than once, and these children or even adults in trafficking situations, kind of over the course of a lot of time, can fall into this routine. And I think that there's synonymously like almost a hopelessness in the situation, but also very much so the psychological manufacture that's happened of the Stockholm syndrome, where that bond has been attached. So if that was the case, that means this was 5 years later. She was 14. That could have very well happened to where she was kind of still there, but she felt a moment. Let's say that was her in the diner, and she felt a moment of escape or hope in the moment, in that situation.
Yeah. Damn.
This is unsolved. Authorities do believe foul play was involved. They do believe that she was deceased, but she's never been pronounced dead. So this is also a little nuts. And there's not as much on this as I feel like there needs to be. But 3 years after her disappearance, they don't say how she was disabled, but Anthonette had an aunt. It was her father's sister. There was a 25-year-old disabled, actually her stepdad's disabled step aunt is how they describe her, that disappeared from the same area in Gallup, New Mexico. She was gone for a month, found in Juarez, Mexico, 1 month later, alive, and returned home.
Wow.
And there's nothing. I keep reading like what happened in the time. Did
So
someone take her? Did she-
yeah, well, like, what's this family involved in?
So exactly. Let me get through a couple of things, and we're going to talk about that, because now we've got a few different theories, if you will. We know that there's been talk of mom maybe having some drug issues going on.
I still think it's strange that mom's going out till midnight when she's got a 9-year-old, a 5-year-old, and
well, on that night she did have a babysitter. She didn't leave them alone, as far as we know.
I got
Yeah.
you. That's right. She had a babysitter. All right, that makes me feel better.
So there's been talk of traffic. Trafficking is trafficking, but the way I think that we look at it now, think about where they were in New Mexico, Arizona, got Texas, eventually got the border. Like, there have been some buzz about trafficking over the years. Some of the authorities have kind of fallen into that camp. Mom a poly. Oh gosh, hey.
Yeah,
We
we blacked out there for a
buffered.
second. We buffered. But what you were talking about trafficking real quick before it went into haywire mode. It would be very targeted though. I feel like you
I
had
do
to
too.
know that there were 3 kids there.
Yep.
And you had to know you had to know that a
You
kid
had to
was
know
going
where
to
you're
answer the
taking
door.
them.
Like if you're
and the why.
knocking on the door, how confident? I mean, put yourself in the suspect's shoes. I'm gonna go knock on a door at 3:00 in the morning, and I'm gonna expect a 9-year-old fucking girl that can't fight worth a shit or can't do anything, that I can silently snatch her from that door with nobody inside, putting a double barrel shotgun in my face and blowing my brains out or making a canoe out of my skull. Like that's not how that works. Like you can't just knock on a door and get lucky.
Again, remember that I agree. And remember that the neighbors said that they saw a brown van. So if the neighbors saw a brown van between 1 and 3:00 in the morning, they're on their porch. They're awake. These kids were known to be awake most hours of the night. So maybe it wasn't a relative, but maybe it was someone who knew the family, if that was the scenario, right? So we talked about trafficking. I was just saying that mom, at some point during the questioning and investigation of all of this, did fail a polygraph. So what's your thoughts on that? I know that they're not super reliable, but how would you feel about mom failing one in this situation?
What did she? What part of the polygraph?
There's not a lot of talk. They didn't really release all of that. It's just literally that she failed the polygraph. So
I don't know, man.
I mean, if a question, let me ask you this:
Okay.
when you said what part of that? So let's say that they're doing some baseline questions, and let's say she's failing something unrelated to this. Would that then deem this a failed polygraph, or do you know what I mean? Like, would it have to be specifically about Anthonette to be considered failed, or just across the board because now you can't trust any of the results?
I mean, that's the thing with the polygraph test. There's so many.
All the baseline.
There's so many baseline stuff. There's so many. I mean, anything. It's if you, I'll tell you right now, if my kid end up missing, and you were to say his name, my heart's gonna fucking skyrocket. On every question.
Is that not like
which would be a baseline thing, right? Like
okay.
we get a baseline thing, but like now you use the word, your child and missing, that might make it spike even higher. I mean, because I would be such an emotional train wreck. Of course it will. I don't know if you could get an accurate baseline. I don't think you could get an accurate baseline. I don't know. There's a lot of questions I have. I don't really like the polygraph thing just because it's all dependent on the person administering it. And
that's fair, but would it not also be if you're looking at and trust me when I say I don't know what I don't know here, so I'm legitimately asking these questions. Like, let's say you're talking about a theft,
right?
Then let's say you're talking about rape. Let's say you're talking about some sort of a burglary with assault. Then you're talking about kidnapping. Now you're talking about your own missing child who maybe parents can be implicated. Would there not be almost a different baseline, right? Or you're gonna alter your the way the results are viewed or looked at based on those things, right? Like if you're there for a bank robbery and I ask you something about your kid and your heart rate's not going to spike and whatever, that it shouldn't. If it's about your missing child and it does, I feel like that's taken into account as they process these results, right?
Yeah, but the thing with a polygraph test is like it's an interrogation tool essentially, because they're not going to know what the truth is. They don't know why it spiked, and if you don't come off of it, they're still not going to know the truth. It's not like it's the end all be all to. There's a lot of things that you can do. I'm not going to talk about them. There's a lot of things you can do with a polygraph test to pass it. But I've got a friend. This is a good example. And I believe this friend a lot just because I know of him. I know his religious background. And I've been around him long enough to know of I know everything about this kid. Like I know what trouble he's been in and what trouble he hasn't been in. And he wanted to be a cop and he was a goody two shoes. I know for a fact he's never smoked pot. I know for a fact he's never done any drugs. I know all of these things. He's just that kind of weird kid. But he failed one of his polygraphs under sex, like a child sex or a prostitution sex. I'm not sure which one of the sex questions he failed.
I thought it had to do with multiple partners, like an orgy or something, right?
Yes. So the guy came and
I
told
remember
me,
this, yeah.
the guy told me that he failed the polygraph and they just would not stop questioning him about, have you ever had sex with a kid? And he was like, I've never had sex with a kid. And they're like, well, why is on the polygraph? It's, blah, 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 blah. And he wouldn't come off of it to them. And I guess he inevitably failed. And he called me.
Yeah, and if I remember
the
the story correctly, it was about, because they considered it
he had hooked up with
sexual behavior, but
he had
like a
he had hooked up
threesome.
with a girl. And they had a threesome with another girl, all consensual, no rape. But because of his religious
But
values,
he considered that bad. Yeah,
when he thought, when the word sex came in, all he could think about was his deviancy that he had with this
That's what it was,
threesome.
sexual deviancy. I
And
remember.
and he failed this polygraph to it, but he never wanted to come off that because they never asked. They didn't ask, have you ever had a threesome? It's just like, have you ever engaged in sex or paid for sex? Boom. He hears the word sex and he thinks of the sexual deviancy. And the shit's like went off the charts or whatever. I don't know, like what the charts read or anything like that. I didn't see the polygraph, but I believe this kid. Like the kid was so honest that he's willing to call me and have this conversation with me. So,
Sure.
I
don't think there's a ton
know.
of weight in it. It's always interesting when a case has gone cold and a child is missing, and mom was into some certain questionable thing. Feels it. I think that when you look at I think that maybe it's when you're looking at the whole picture too, right? Like you can't just look at it alone. You can't just extrapolate polygraph.
I don't think you could do a good polygraph with me I don't think emotionally I'd be able to talk about my kids if they were hurt, injured, disappeared. I mean, if you say like, did you have anything to do with the kidnapping? My anger and the amount of hate and all the hell I would bring down on this earth if that happened it would just fucking blow that machine.
Lastro Lopez says, I hope he's had many three-ways since.
You know what? I doubt it. Knowing that guy, unfortunately.
One did him in.
I think he did it one time. I don't think it was his idea either.
Maybe it wasn't consensual, but on his part. Right?
Disruptors, BC and Ski are in the chats. They say they've worked in the homicide for many years and they don't use. Oh, by the way, congratulations to Disruptors. They bought a ghost bed. I say it like they as in they're like partner. One of the Disruptors bought a ghost bed recently.
I hope you guys like it.
Bed, so sleep so good it's scary.
Mm-hmm.
If you sleep on a ghost bed, you'll pass any
polygraph.
Any polygraph does. Micah McFowle says hashtag him too. Yeah, right. He goes and sits in front of his therapist. You're like, what drama brought you here? And he was like, I was forced to have a threesome with two beautiful women.
That's terrible. The worst.
So but at the same time, I do think that statistically speaking, you're not. The chances of a person knocking on a door, hoping that a child is going to answer it so that he can then kidnap it and then, come up with this masterful plan to keep it hidden and turn it into a Stockholm syndrome. I mean, statistically, the stars would have to align absolutely perfectly to see that crime out, unless you've planned it out some way, somehow better than that, or you're much closer to the famly. Maybe it wasn't Uncle Joe. Maybe it was Uncle Rico.
So
Uncle Rico had a brown van.
We're not even starting that because that gets us into a whole different territory. But actually, Uncle Joe, there was a legitimate Uncle Joe. That's why they say that they thought she opened the door when she heard Uncle Joe, if that's in fact what someone said. He was questioned and immediately just forgotten about. He had an alibi. He was never questioned. They never actually considered him, whatever.
Yeah, but does Uncle Joe have a friend? Because if the dude, says, hey,
well, maybe
Uncle Joe.
Well,
but again, you're still taking the chance that a child opens the fucking door.
No, okay. I think someone that knew. Okay. My thoughts on this is that maybe it was someone who knew the family and knew them well enough to be able to say, like, it's Uncle Joe, like something that the children would respond to.
Right.
But not necessarily like a buddy of Uncle Joe's, or maybe a bad guy. But I don't think Uncle Joe had anything to do with it. But I think that so that's what I was gonna say, Mom.
What about this theory that I just had? Mom went out to the bar, have a couple of drinks, tells two homeboys that she's got two daughters, that she can't get to go to sleep on time. They're up all the time. They know she's drunk, and they know that she's going home and she's going to pass out. So they know that Mom's too drunk to not be awake. Where's Dad in all this?
Gone. Both.
Gone.
There's
Okay.
2 dads for the 3 girls, and she's separated from or gone from all.
So
of them.
now these 2 guys would know. So wherever she was at that night would be a good place to start. Who did she talk
Sure.
to that night? Because again, you've got to know that 1, she's not going to be answering the door, and 2, you got to know that she's got kids. The disruptors would have been great because they're homicide detectives. They would have been able to chime in with.
Well, maybe
what their
they
theories
can.
are.
Maybe they can debrief this case on their ghost bed tonight.
Hey,
what they
little
think about it.
spoon. Hey, sweet
My
little
little
spoon.
spoon. Who's the little spoon? All right. So there's also talk that mom had. There were people in that house a lot at all hours of the night.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go.
So she would have her buddies over, and not the cream of the crop. Like a lot of the times, it was again, there was some questionable.
So there's not enough people. There's so many people that they couldn't question everybody and figure this out. I mean, I don't know, man. This seems like a case that you should be able to solve. There should be enough. You should have enough information.
Get a screenshot of Eric's face just then when he froze. Because please send me that. Send that to my DMs immediately.
Okay, well, I'm gonna post the picture of when you froze
Nope,
earlier.
Nope.
Yep.
Okay.
Nope. It's happening.
Nope.
You look like a.
I look like a baby midget with fluid on my head. So mom died in 1999 at 46 years old of cirrhosis of the liver.
So she was a drinker.
Oh, heavy drinker.
Okay. So they had to know she was drinking that night, had to know she was passed out. They knew that she wasn't going to answer the door. And they know that she's got 2 kids. So they're very close to this woman. Close enough.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you should be able to bring all those people in and do some pretty badass questioning if you have a good ass
Drew
detective.
just said, forgive me guys for not being able to see because I am a grandmother, as Hydro Man pointed out. But Drew Breezy just said 2 of the major missing kid cases where he worked had barfly moms. Both times the kids were murdered. I don't think that that's unheard of. And again, authorities do without, as we talk about this all the time. We don't know what they have, what evidence they have,
right,
what kind of case they may be trying to build.
Obviously, they don't have enough. They haven't solved the fucking case.
They have alluded to the fact, though, again, that they do feel like it was foul play. They don't think that she is still alive. They think she was deceased not long after going missing.
But I still think that you should be able to know. You should the killer is known to the family.
I agree. I think so too.
It's like when I go to church, like if I was going to go to church, I know there's one pedophile in the church. And if I was allowed to interview everybody, I'd find the one fucking guy.
So let's also
just
talk
go
about
and
this.
Question all the people that woman's got in contact with it, because it's one of them.
Keep in mind these 2 things that we didn't touch on a ton. We touched on the aunt that 3 years later went missing for a month and was found in Juarez, Mexico, alive and came back.
Right.
Don't have 0 details on that. Feel like we need a lot more.
Ooh.
But that is interesting.
I wonder if she's like, hey, listen, don't kill me. I've got a really good lead for you. I got a piece of shit stepsister.
So she was the informant.
Right? Yeah, that's a good theory.
Okay. Also, we have the
they could have just taken Sarah Couch because she looks like she's 9.
Yeah. Hey, Sarah. There's also, we have the reservation all around it. It's a Navajo reservation. There's a lot of different parts of it, but it's around there, right? And then we do know that there are a lot of like reservation. Okay. For instance, I have old dear friends of mine who at some point in the last few years adopted a newborn baby from a mother and father that were from a reservation somewhere in the United States. And they are in, it was all on the up and up, and it's all very quiet and private because their biggest fear is that before the child is 18, that at some point the reservation, because reservations have different laws, is that they could come back and they have different laws than we have in terms of those kinds of things. So this child was biracial, mom was Navajo. So I mean, there were just a lot of different thoughts and theories on what could have happened.
Is this cold case been like reopened? Are they like I don't
Like,
know.
are
It
they
just feels like this one
currently?
shouldn't
Is it
be
hot
that
right now?
difficult to solve. Yeah, like I mean, yeah. Is anybody working it as a cold case?
Yeah, no, it's not. It just says that it's to this day unsolved, and that just that they believe she's deceased. I wouldn't be surprised if whoever did it, if it's not a situation of them like an Elizabeth Smart, right? If it's not a situation where they have her and they're just keeping her, then I think she was dead pretty quickly, and I think it's very likely, given the history of a lot of these characters, that whoever did it could be dead at this point too, very easily. Again, mom died at 46 years old. This was the company she kept.
Yeah, I guess that would be. I mean, I guess that would be it too. I don't know. It just, yeah, you hate it when you got something like this. That's. I mean, it just seems like it should be a solvable crime. I mean, it seems like if you've talked to anybody that she's talked to, one of those guys is the fucking killer. It's not like, when we have the girls on the bridge, like that one's tough because you don't know if they knew that person or not. But like in this one, I feel like 90% sure that whoever did this has to know them personally, or had
Keegan
contact with her at the
Kline, and we
bar,
talked
or
about
been to the
Keegan.
house.
Oh, now you're back on this one. I thought you were still talking about Delphi.
No. But Delphi, it seems like they're making some good progress in Delphi.
So I want to ask you about that. Let's change gears a little bit. We can continue to talk about this, but that's kind of all I have in terms of the presentation of this. Ooh, sorry, y'all. There was just an earthquake in Wilmington, evidently.
Was it really?
Yes, my knee hit my desk from Hobby Lobby.
Trying to show those knees off again. I'll see what you're trying to do. Trying to get them super chats generated by showing some knees.
Nope. So Delphi, if you guys saw the terrible reel I made, I hate making those, and Eric makes me. So I need you guys to know that.
Stockholm syndrome.
Lumber Chef, get out of the chats, Lumber Chef. We do not know any PI that should be on this case. Get out of here.
Big old PI Jim Terry's on the case. He'd be like, the problem was his mom was a lesbian dyke. She was a fucking dyke. Okay? Her mom was a dyke, an alcoholic, and the girl was gay, and that's why they took her. She was a Mormon gay Navajo, and the Navajos didn't want her. That's Jim Terry. That's my Jim Terry impression.
I swear, if he made T-shirts with my face on it and sold it at my kid's school, like he did for that other chick,
dude, that would be fucking rad. I'd buy one. I'd fucking wear it. I would wear it on this show. I would wear it on this show. I would wear a picture of your face on my shirt.
I'd murder him. You have it here, folks. So, but on Delphi, and that's what I was saying, that you make me do these reels. I don't want to do them, y'all. I'm not a podcaster by nature. I just get on here to talk to y'all. And Keegan Kline was the guy that was catfishing for that, the guy that you like so much. Remember, because you'd already told me how cute he was. The one from Alaska, the cop who did the TikToks. Because you love the TikTok cops. The influencer
I've never told
cops.
you that a man was cute ever.
Yeah. You said that you thought it was really neat that cops were taking the TikTok grab and like
I've never said
trying to be
not
sexy
once,
on Instagram.
Not once in my life have I ever said that. Ever.
So Keegan was a very pale, unfortunate looking man is currently, he's not dead, big boy, and he and his father lived together, and he had a ton of I talked about it during the show when we covered the Delphi murders, that there was, I think, 96 pages of transcripts or something I read through. There was so much, and just tons and tons and tons and tons of child porn. And he was even seen peeking in a window of a middle school girl, like a week after this happened or something, like really. So it's been, what was that, 2007? So it's been 5 years, and they are now searching. Now, he was indicted on the charges for child porn, and he's been looked at as a suspect for being the guy that says, do you guys remember, that says down the bridge? And then he says, guys, down the bridge. Or down the hill, down the hill. And so remember, because we did the whole debate on, is that hair or hat? Hair or hat? We came to that it's hair. And he or his father could have been implicated in that. We kind of looked at both pictures. But anyway, now they have been searching the river in front of his house. They've been dragging and searching the river in front of his house. They already have the bodies. We're not looking for the bodies. But what at this point, I want to ask you that. They've never released how they died. Again, I still think
They're
knife.
stabbed a bunch of fucking
I think
times.
knife. They never said they were shot. They just said they couldn't talk about it. They did say
Right.
there was a lot of blood. I think it was a knife.
Yeah.
We know that the bodies were staged, at least moved a couple of times in the same area and posed and staged. And we know that a couple of souvenirs were taken. That's all we know about the actual crime scene. So what's the likelihood of a knife? I don't know the current of this river. I don't know much about that geography, or the topography of the land there. But what would be Ridge 152? We got your $5. Your test went through. Testing.
Yeah. So
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
show him your kneecap. Give him what he wants. Stockholm syndrome.
Oh,
You have to
guys,
do what
are
I
you
said.
looking at the camera? But so what would they be? What's reasonable that they could still be looking for 5 years later in that
I
in
mean,
that
it's
river?
reasonable to try to find the knife. You
Like
could
maybe
be
it
trying
got
to
like
find the shoes. I mean,
embedded.
whatever. I mean, I train with. I mean, I'm loosely
That's okay,
on
why would they
a
look
dive
for
recovery
clothing
team, but
then?
I don't. I don't do much except support them. But I did make it onto the team and do the tryout stuff and do other things. But I'm just more of a support role. But they die for evidence. They die for these types of things. And I mean, you can literally be diving for all sorts of things. But depending on how big it's a lake, you said, or is it what is it?
River.
A river? Trying to find a knife in a river? I mean, you're
I'm not
talking.
saying there's a current.
You're talking a long time, man. I mean, I don't know. It'd be a lot. It'd be a
Drew
lot.
Breezy said, "Order the angel shot." They're all trying to help me escape you. That's a good idea. Hydroman Blue said to put a dot on my hand and hold it up to the camera.
Listen, who told you to get on the? Who told you that you could have a pen or a marker? Sarah Kelch wants to know how much for Mike and Tansey to kidnap you.
Not me, her. Y'all can.
Yeah, I know. To kidnap Sarah, I'd kidnap Sarah. Fucking put her in my briefcase, carry her around with me. And every time I get bored, just
you could
open it like a kitten, like a lost kitten. You just open it up and look at it and be like, "Oh, look at a little kitten inside my briefcase," and then like zip it back up and give it a little treat or something. Carry it around your police car. We've all done it. We've all found that little kitten that we wanted to drop off to the Humane Society to be euthanized later. But we drive around it with their car for a little while because it's so darn cute. Then we drop it off pretending like it's not going to get euthanized in the next few days. That's what I would do with Sarah.
I tell my kids all the time I'm going to leave them at a safe place. Like at the fire.
Drive her around for a little bit and then have her euthanized.
Sarah, you walked right into that. People are sending me inboxes of our screenshot of when it was frozen. So,
well, that's great. When are we?
I thought it was gonna be bad of you, and it's actually not. It's
hard to get a bad picture of me. It's almost impossible.
Also not true.
It's almost impossible.
What?
When do you think we're going to get an update on the Delphi murder case?
I check all the time. Honestly, I have no idea. I mean, that's anybody's guess. There's no way to know that. I know that was the most recent. That's the first time, and that's kind of how I put it in when I try to describe it. We don't know how much that case has been moving or not moving since then. Right. I don't think that they've ignored it. I don't think it's just gone cold.
That's another one of those cases that just drives me bonkers, man. I know that they probably have the best minds on it, but I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, why don't you grab a pool of detectives that want to volunteer and release that information to them? Because there's a lot of that video left. And this has got to be one of those cases that you just got to look at it from a different angle. Was it 3 minutes long?
And we got down the hill, and then however many months later, we got guys down the hill. But there's a reason they're holding it, right? Like I have to trust that there's a reason they're not.
Yeah, but after 5 years, come on.
Yeah, I do think.
I'm just saying it drives me nuts. I'm not saying they don't know what they're doing. It makes me mad because I'm like, fuck, man, let's solve this case. But here's the thing too with that.
Want to go to Delphi?
Let's go to Delphi. Let's fucking solve this case. We just walk through the doors. We just kick in the doors. We're like, you know who the fuck we are?
Can they be double doors?
Yeah, double doors. We walk in. They're like, and we're like, you know who the fuck we are? And then like the one detective already knows, and he's like, oh no, failure
Hell
stops
no.
here. We're like, give us the documents. They're like, chief. And they're like, nah, give them the documents. You've got 72 hours, guys, to crack the case. And then, you know, we're on it. And of course we crack the case, but Wolfpack Assemble is what somebody says in the chat. It's difficult to look at pictures. Who's doing the art for the book, by the way?
You guys, if you, oh man, okay. Well,
but no, what I'm saying is Kegels or
Keegan, yep.
Kegel boy. The fact that he had so much fucking child pornography, why don't we just end him?
Do you
and
remember?
The father?
Yeah, he shouldn't even be here. It's like the case.
Why is he even still?
Shouldn't even have
like,
breath.
Just
nope.
fucking.
Nope.
Just get rid of him. Just on like. Okay, maybe he killed her, maybe he didn't, but he's got all this child pornography and all this, you know, wretched stuff, and his dad's kind of a suspected pervert. So let's just fucking end that bloodline where it lies. Like, don't let those guys procreate.
So I kind of lost my train of thought there, but yeah, I don't know. Keegan, yeah, he shouldn't be here. Oh, he's the one that said. Do you remember how he said, when the cop was going over and over when I was reading those transcripts about juveniles and about and exploitation, and he had so many, but he would talk about the girls that were like 12, 13, 14, and when they mentioned younger girls like 5 to 8 or 9, he felt, remember how he got like indignant and was just like, absolutely not. That's too, you like, I would never do that. That's too young, whatever. Super bizarre. That was a gross one.
Golly. Well, now this is just a strange case, but it's like one of those ones where it's like, I wonder if this just didn't get solved because it's in a small, under budget town. Like, again, you don't have, this isn't the movies. It's not like, you got your star-studded cast. You don't have BC and Ski working the disappearance, the missing person here. It's one of those things that makes me wonder that what if you did have a big city detective that went down there that actually solved cases, not the FBI guy that just went through all the schoolhouses, but like a real fucking detective with some real experience went down there and shake some feathers, get a real Jim Terry in there.
And me and you and Jim go.
Yeah,
and then they're going to find Jim.
Then we'd have two missing people. You and that girl. Just kidding. Drew Brees says DNA wasn't prevalent and not collected the same as today. Yeah, I mean, back then it wouldn't have. Disruptor says we've cleared cases from the 70s because we held info that only the killer would know. Oh, okay. So yeah, I mean, like, again, you have to trust that they know, but at the same time, you do wonder, right? Like, you wonder, like, is it? And with the Delphi one, man, that case bugs me to hell. This one bugs me too. But this one bugs me too. But these are the two
that one
cases.
is just a little. Delphi's a little more recent, and we had the technology. We have all the DNA technology, all the things that we didn't have for Anthonette's case at the time. Now we can rerun these things at this point, if anyone were to do so. But Delphi is just a little bit more recent, and seems, and that was in a much smaller town even, and it was wild. Yeah. But for real quick, you guys, if you haven't been looking at reels and stories and chats and all the things, we're trying to up that. We're trying to really kind of bring, I can't even say Eric's doing a great job of it. I do it when he tells me to, because I have Stockholm, and so I do what he asks. But the difficult to look at pictures was in the chat tonight, and if you guys have seen any of the artwork that's going to go into the book, that's who to thank for it. And it has blown my mind the way I feel like he's read your mind with the way you depict the stories. And I mean, I'm serious here. This isn't even a plug. I mean, definitely go support the guy. But it's, when you first even mentioned artwork, I had not envisioned the book from even years ago. Reading on it and talking about it years ago, I had not envisioned artwork. And when you said, hey, I really kind of like this guy's style, I'd like to put these in between the chapters to kind of like, one picture to sum up a chapter. And I don't know, like, I think it's the way your narrative of your stories makes the book, but then this artwork just like is the icing on the cake. It's fantastic. So
Yeah, I
definitely
read a
good.
book when I was a kid. It was Robinson Crusoe, and before each chapter, it had an image from the chapter, like a sketch, like a pencil sketch of the chapter. So like him getting on his little fake boat and it,
Yeah.
sinking and stuff like that. And I remember that, and I think I don't know. I just like when I finished this book, when I had finished writing it and was waiting to get it out for editing. I said like the only thing I think that this book needs while it's getting edited is the artwork. And there were two guys. There's this one guy that paints with coffee, and then there was Jonathan Bates. And I kind of looked at the both of them, and I didn't know which one I was going to message first. I just thought like the comic book aspect, and it was really this drawing that Jonathan did, and you can follow him at Difficult to Look At Pictures on Instagram.
Yeah, please.
It was a picture of a police officer with bloody knuckles. It was like a black and white picture, and they just had this one cop with bloody knuckles. And I thought, man, what a powerful image that is. And it's like comic book kind of thing. And I really like comic books growing up as a kid. And so I asked him to do the artwork, and he said he would. And the funny thing is, though, is it's like, he's like the first artist. He's like the second artist I've ever worked with. I didn't.
Difficult to Look At Pictures said, let me see that coffee guy. He's probably better than me. well, you got the book. So
yeah, I think this is, I think you're right though. The pictures are definitely the icing on the cake. I can't wait to get this book out. I've got a really great meeting this week. I'm not going to say who it's with.
Almost done.
But we got a really great meeting this week, and hopefully it goes well. I'm pretty much sold in my brain though that I do not want to have a publisher, even though I do have a meeting with a publisher. I think in my brain, no matter what, I think I want to self-publish just because I can, and I like the work ethic involved in self-publishing, and I don't really want to pay somebody else to do my work. I've already done the editors. I've already hired the editors. Yourself being one of those editors. I don't know, but we'll see. It's exciting that we even get to have a meeting.
Sean Kelly said, who's going to play you in the movie? And Lumber Chef said Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, I think Wahlberg would be a lot of fun. I think if somebody was going to play me in a movie, though, it would have to be Keanu Reeves. But like Keanu Reeves from Keanu Reeves from Point Break. Yep. And if you made the book, it'd be Pamela Anderson.
Oh God!
At the age she is right now, because it's like the same age as you.
Good looking.
Oh, that was a wonderful episode. I got to get you back to your dungeon, put you back in your cage. Who let you on this podcast?
Chain me up.
Chain her back up. No, thank you. That was a really great episode. It's one of those episodes that leaves me with more questions than answers.
That's how it always is when we do.
Do we know why this story made it like so big, and why it's like such a trending case? Is it just because people feel the same way I do, that like the killer has to be known to the family, or they were in contact? I would go as far as to say that night. It's whoever she was hanging out with that night in my brain.
Maybe, but I said she had people in and out of that home often.
Yeah, but it had to be that night to know that she was drunk that night. She was drunk. She wasn't.
I don't think she was just drunk that night. I don't think this night was an anomaly. Like, I'm not.
So she's paying a babysitter every night?
I don't think she is. I think there's a reason that 9-year-old was in there. It wasn't because of what your child does or my oldest child does, where we're trying to teach them responsibility and independence. I think this child kind of had to be. Right. So I don't know why. It's not like super trending right now. No, but it did make Unsolved Mysteries back then, but that would have made sense in the timeline, right? Because this happened in 1986. So you think late 80s, early 90s for Unsolved Mysteries. So it did make that. And a lot of these cases, if you go down the Reddit rabbit holes and things like that, these kind of stay, especially these unsolved ones. People kind of really want to get their teeth in there and try to figure it out. But yeah, not super trendy, but it's still very much prevalent and it's out there, and these always leave us with more questions than answers, because
you think they'll solve it with technology or anything like that? I would assume by now.
I'm always hopeful.
23andMe and all this other shit that they would find her like through like some kind of DNA type things, if she was still around, if she's porking out children or whatever.
Oh, I don't think she is.
Well, you don't think she's alive?
No.
No, it sucks.
She could be, but if she is, she's not. If she is not here. That's my call. If she's alive, she's not. I think she's in Mexico.
Mm.
You know, but we have solved.
Or could it be one of the dads?
Oh, got him.
Who?
The mosquito.
Oh, well, I thought you solved the case. I was really excited.
So, you know, and we've talked about this in that one capacity that I kind of worked alongside some people who were doing these kinds of things, right? And there have been a few cases that did go just completely cold. They won't call this cold. They just say unsolved. So I do think it's still being worked. I'm not sure if that is that right. Would that be the lingo? Like if they don't say cold, or is someone still maybe hanging on to a folder somewhere? But the technology that changed, what was it? First in 92 for DNA and things like that, and then again exponentially, kind of like everything else. They've gone on to solve cases is this one or older with that. So I can't say that it won't be solved. Just depends on how much time and effort's being put into it currently.
Well, I appreciate you bringing us and delivering us another really great true crime. Real quick news before we head out of here. One, go support our sponsors. Support Manscaped. Use that promo code Wolfpack. Don't want your bowels to be all bushy for the fall. That 20% off deal is badass, especially for the Manscaped 4.0 kit. It takes off a lot of fucking cash. I did it. I've got my Manscaped 4.0 package. Got to use my own promo code as a gift. They sent me one, but then they sent us two. I gifted out two of them. I got my own using my own promo code. Just make sure it works for you guys, and it does. So, but we will not be live next Tuesday. We will be pre-recording because Andrea and I are joining Breaking Benjamin to the Alice in Chains show. We have to be a guest, and Bush. I'm just there to see Jason shred on his guitar and potentially party with him afterwards. Make some bad poor life decisions. I don't know. See if he takes me on his tour bus, has his way with me. I don't know. I'm going to be a groupie for the night. We'll see what happens. But we will be doing a show. It'll go out. And we'll probably be in the chats at the concert. But you can follow us. You can follow us that night on Instagram.
We can try.
We will be doing lots of stories.
Yeah.
That night. So that'll be fun. That'll be fun. So.
That will be fun.
And if you're going to the Breaking Benjamin show in Raleigh, North Carolina, hit us up. We'll try to find you guys. I'll try to send you pictures of us having a really good time backstage. I'm just kidding. I'm joking. I don't even know if he's going to take us backstage or not, but we are excited to go hang out with him for the night. I'm as giddy as a schoolgirl. Can't wait to get my Nickelback shirt. I've been wanting a Nickelback shirt for a long time anyway.
That was pretty, y'all. That was pretty dope. When we're chatting with Jason and Eric said,
we were on the porch.
Why are you putting me on the phone with the keyboard player of the keyboard player of Nickelback?
He laughed really loud. It was pretty funny.
Somehow we didn't get kicked out of the
I was
on the show.
I was drunk. So I'm just waiting to see if we get catfished. Like we show up, we're ready to go. And the guy's like,
who are you?
You guys have been talking to me for like months and shit. And I'm not even that guy.
It's Keegan Kline.
He's like, got you, Birch. This isn't Breaking Benjamin. This is a JoJo concert. Son of a bitch.
Oh,
all right, guys. What?
Again, I feel like that's more like how that's going to go.
Yeah, we're going to show up. We're like, no, listen, we're waiting on Jason. We know him. They're like, oh, sure you do. Oh, you got had by that guy again.
That's me, bitches.
Man. Oh, all right, guys. Well, until next time, shave those bushes, those bushy bushes with Manscaped, promo code Wolfpack, and sleep so good it's scary on your ghost bed. Ghostbed.com/Wolfpack. Guns up, kitty up.
Good night, y'all.